Marty, we
Mhm.
we make our recommendations and they fall on deaf ears sometimes. And sometimes you say, "Hey, perhaps this would be the best way to go." And then people will criticize you. And then a year later, they go and they do that thing. And then what do you do? What do you do in that moment? Do you pull out the "I told you so's," or do you just take that one with a little bit of stride?
I take this one with stride. To be honest, it hit the Twitter world, the Twitterverse in the afternoon, and it hit hard. But it was interesting because quite a few people that follow me said, "Yeah, whatever, whoop-de-doo." I mean, it is a what's the expression? A year late and a dollar short kind of thing. I mean, and I think people are going to see that. Now, maybe people don't even know what the hell we're talking about. Do you want to say what we're talking about?
we're talking about where is it? Add this to the stage. Okay, we got
Yeah.
Pierre Poilievre making the announcement that he fought for Canadian workers and Canadian interests on the world's biggest podcast. He did that. Thank you, Rogan, for an amazing conversation. Let's get tariff-free trade. Sign up to watch it first on the Conservative website. I doubt that it'll be first on the Conservative website. It's just a ploy to get more email addresses. But yeah, so he's making the appearance on Joe Rogan, which he was criticized over a year ago for not appearing on the Joe Rogan show, and in fact, like kind of being have his people were kind of rude about it too. Like they weren't nice about, like, they were saying, "We can't appear on your show. That's bad for us." And like, who would not take offense to that, honestly?
Yeah, well, I think last year he was afraid of, being too closely associated with the Americans and Donald Trump and a bunch of things like that. But
Mhm.
but really, really practically speaking, he's got a different team. Like he's got a different team of advisors right now, and they're right now. To me, it kind of looks like they're throwing a bunch of things to see what sticks. Right? I mean, in hindsight, I feel vindicated for the event. Like they did their AGM here at the beginning of January, February, and I was upset about that because it was interfering, I thought, with the Alberta separatist movement, and,
Right.
and that backfired. Like how they suddenly brought on board all these influencers and invited them in and did all that. And all of a sudden, we seem to have forgotten that. Now they're doing this alongside this, the CTV, like his new campaign managers and other people, they're on CTV promoting it. So I mean, you if podcasting, this podcast will be successful in and of itself, they shouldn't have gone on CTV to promote the fact that Joe was on, or sorry, that Pierre was on the Joe Rogan podcast. Like that defeats the purpose, right? Like, hey, you know what I mean? Like they're going on CTV saying he's going to be on the podcast. Well, that's kind of like advertising that your restaurant's open. If your restaurant's good and open, you don't need to advertise it. So we'll see. I mean, I honestly I look forward to hearing it. I hope I hope that somehow or other. Well, not that I hope. I think he won't be able to be just polished. Like that's one of the things I always want of Pierre and any politician. In fact, like go on a podcast and don't fucking. So sorry. Don't. I don't need to apologize. We're on Rumble right now. What am I doing?
We're on YouTube as well,
Yeah,
but whatever.
yeah, yeah. I think Joe will sense through his crap and they'll hopefully have a pretty honest discussion. I hope it doesn't get nauseating and he talks about like whatever, policy too much. We'll see.
Well, so I don't know if you caught him on trigonometry just last week. So
Yes.
he's kind of on the tour now. And it's
Yeah.
it's weird because it's not even during an election. Why are you on tour at all in the first place? It's kind of defeating. But so he was on there, but he doesn't really get into anything. Nothing's really candid. Everything still felt like, oh, okay, this is like, it's
Yeah.
procedure. It felt like
It's
an
not it's
interview. It
not
didn't feel like
campfire
a
chit
talk show.
chat, right? It's not
No.
campfire chit chat. And then now the good thing about Joe is that he usually invites his guests a day in advance, and then and they go for a workout or go chat, have dinner, do a few things. So he does try to get to know the guests beforehand so they don't just show up in the studio. Now, Poilievre seems to be working out quite a bit more, so maybe they did have a genuine. I think that would be cool if they did that, if they went for a little workout, Joe, and then chatted, and then maybe had a more casual conversation. We'll see.
We'll see.
Now,
We'll see how it
yeah, yeah.
goes. So, but
Now,
this is the thing. My kind of take on this is now Pierre he's not just going on podcasts, but he's actually going and meeting with officials in America. Now
yeah,
he just met with Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, and
perfect.
that's a pretty big deal. You know, it's a pretty big deal that he's over there meeting with them. But he's the leader of the official opposition. Like, is this okay? For one, is that a normal thing for the leader of the opposition to be out communicating with other governments? Or and then the other thing is now that we know that Jamil Javani was the first one to break ranks and do this, is he just kind of seeing how well that worked for Javani, and now he's going along with it because somebody already sort of broke trail? Do you get what I'm saying here?
Oh, I
Like,
100% get what you're saying. So let's answer it in a few pieces.
yeah.
Is it normal? No. So completely abnormal, right? The leader of the opposition does not go on trips like this unless it is so critical that it becomes nonpartisan, which is so rare, right? Like we could have a nonpartisan event where suddenly the prime minister could have asked the leader of the opposition to join and come, right, on something. But I mean, otherwise, look, like Carney doesn't invite Poilievre to the opening of the Olympics or to the G7 or to any of that crap. So this is so no, not normal. And then not normal even for we criticize premiers for doing this, right? Danielle Smith got criticized for going and meeting directly with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. Like, so a lot of people have this impression that only only the government should go. To your point, I think you're absolutely 100% right. He saw what Jamil did, and it's like, okay, I got to try that. Me personally, I think there should be more of this. Like, it's beneficial to the country. In fact, I think there should be more nonpartisan events. I keep saying that all the time. Like, it pisses me off that everything has to be so freaking partisan. Like, send the best person to the job. If you have if Carney doesn't have somebody on his cabinet who knows how to talk about oil, which by the way he doesn't, well, then ask the Conservatives, like, hey, can you send somebody on your team who's more knowledgeable on this, and so we don't make an ass of ourselves. And so yeah.
I thought it was a great move on Giovanni's part, Jamil, when he did that. And honestly, in my estimate, I mean, after the showing in the last election, you could blame it on his staffers or whatever. He's the guy running the show. He went with a really, really bad campaign, a terrible thing, lost miserably, and next thing you know, you have this other guy who's stepping up to the plate. Copying him just makes Pierre look not as strong. Like, in my estimate, I think Giovanni's probably future leadership material for the Conservative Party.
He came out of left field in that sense. I mean, he's not. There's always people in the wings, right, rubbing their hands, waiting for the leader to falter. I didn't see him as the next one. I thought maybe one to me that's always been in the wings waiting is Michelle Rempel. I don't know when, like, and she's retreated lately. She's living in the U.S. right now, and so but there's a few people like that. Well, we always talk about Dr. Lewis. Leslie Lewis was one that seemed to be wanting the job, and a few others. But
I like Lewis. I like Leslie Lewis. I just don't know if does she have the the pizzazz to like run a campaign? Like, she's fantastic in government. Like, and when it comes to like standing up for people's rights, I think she's absolutely fantastic. I wish she'd be more out there. She wasn't even picked as one of Pierre's cabinet positions. I thought that was disappointing.
Yeah, and then it's his deputy minister right now. What's her name? Melissa Landsman. It'll never be her. So Jamil's fits the right mold, right? He's a bit vanilla, but a little more man of the people. Well-rounded. No pun intended.
Ballsy. That's the thing. If you got,
well, I mean, ballsy, but I mean, he's got a good friend, right? I mean, sure, if my buddy was the secretary of whatever, defense or agriculture, sure, I'd be taking advantage of that. But
vice president of the United States, that's another thing. But okay, so I'd be remiss if I didn't show some of these people that are commenting on the appearance of Pierre Poilievre on Joe Rogan. I keep doing the wrong thing here. Okay, there we go. So we got Viva Fry saying, if only people had told you to go on Joe Rogan during the last election, ... And he just shows a million different takes of his. It was similar takes to what you and I had, and we got criticized for this largely. We also have Jeff Rath jumping in there saying, Albertans don't let Pierre Poilievre, his performative BS on Joe Rogan suck you in. He refuses to renounce equalization and the 10-1 imbalance between Quebec and Alberta dairy licenses. Pierre Poilievre is not coming to save you. Alberta independence is the only way forward. Of course, this is a conundrum, really. At the end of the day, you have Alberta is the biggest province that votes for the Conservatives. And the Conservatives are addressing zero of the issues of why Albertans want to leave in the first place. And that's just, it's such a miss, in my opinion.
My followers, my crowd is, by the way, my crowd has changed a bit. I'm sad to say this, but I have stopped following a lot of Easterners that do not agree at all with independence. And I have no problem. We're parting ways. So the core of my crowd has changed a bit in the last 6 months. And it's pretty tempered when it comes to Joe. They're just like, okay, so nice. Who cares? Now, what I'd be curious about is, are the Rachel Gilmores of the world losing their absolute mind over this? Because that's fun. That's another measure of success, right? One measure of success is how good our side takes it, which is, like I said, pretty. It's neutral to pretty high. What are the Liberals and others like? What's Laura Babcock doing or whatever? We'll see, right? They'll lose their mind when the actual clips come out. Is when they'll lose their mind.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that. I'm not gonna miss out. So for all those that think I'm just gonna ignore this and not pay attention to it because I'm a little annoyed. Let me just be honest and frank about it. I'm annoyed because I was advocating so hard that he do this because I really wanted him to win the last election. Now I could give two shits. Like, let's just be honest. There's no election coming up. There's a lot of people saying, oh, yeah, there's just going to be one around the corner. But we've heard that for years and years and years. And it didn't happen. It didn't materialize. And I don't think it's going to materialize again. And I'm gonna get that bottle of whiskey from you, Marty.
I truly hope you're wrong, or you're right. I mean, because again, I repeat this, right? Look at the insanity of what Carney is attempting to do with C9 and other things. The narrative he's pushing with a minority. Just imagine if he got a majority. My God, we'd be in trouble. We'd be in trouble. Like, it's so yeah.
Well, he's right there. He's right there. There's right by-elections. There's like 2 or 3 by-elections away in like liberal territories, right? They're
one by-election is going to be funny, by the way. The Terrebonne one, right? Is that's where the longest ballot committee is attacking this time. So, by the way, and they're not attacking because of a candidate. Okay, I've said that pretty clearly before. It seems like they pick on candidates. They did go where Pierre was running in his by-election, but they are a protest group. They are protesting with their stunt. It is a protest stunt, and so whenever there's a by-election, they pick a spot. I think they picked the doozy with Terrebonne. That'll be interesting.
Well, for those that don't know the context, so Terrebonne was a district or a riding in Quebec where the election had some serious funny business when it came to the mail-in ballots. So the mail-in ballots, they had a typo on the return address. So a crap ton of them didn't even get to Elections Canada. So people have voted, and then it went, and they won by 1 vote.
Actually,
there was tons more ballots that just didn't even show.
You missed a step. You missed a step.
Oh,
it was close originally, but the Conservative had won by, like, let's say 50. Then they recounted. The Liberal won by 1. And then the whole fiasco of the mail-in ballots came out, and then the courts had to adjudicate on it, and the court said invalid. So I'm glad. I don't think that's ever happened, not in my lifetime, where an actual result has been deemed invalid. Too much tampering. And then people will still say, oh, there's no tampering that goes on. You have a court case that proves it. Like, why would the court
They're recalling
invalidating.
the election. They're doing
Yeah,
they're doing a redo. There's a mulligan
yeah,
because it was so botched. That's
yeah,
horrible.
exactly.
They need to
Yeah.
they need to do what the US is doing, what the Republicans are pushing in government right now, and that's the Save America Act, and that's voter ID. You have to make sure you're a citizen in your voter rolls. Show up with your voter ID, and there's no excuse for mail-in ballots just because you don't feel like going in. Like that's
Well,
it. You show up or you don't get to vote. Period.
it's actually a subject that's annoying the crap out of me lately because I am a canvasser, right? I'm collecting signatures for this petition, and I'm doing it under the Elections Alberta rules. And I'm like, they're hounding us as canvassers constantly, making sure we follow the rules. So I have to demand to see people's signature, driver's license. Ask them, "Are you a Canadian? Do you live in Alberta? Sign here in blue ink, blah, 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 blah." I'm like, holy smokes, man. You're holding me, Elections Alberta holds me accountable to a higher standard than they do the politicians that we're trying to hold accountable. You know what I mean? Like in Elections Canada does the same thing. I mean, I've told this story before, right? I got in trouble with Elections Canada for taking a picture of my ballot. So they went out of their way and they found me and they gave me a slap on the wrist. But if you're a politician who cheats, or if somebody in their own organization puts the wrong address on the envelopes, oh, that's fine. We'll just redo the election.
Or
Like,
what goes on in the primaries and the elections in Canada is just unbelievable. So the primaries into like they're unbelievably corrupt. You don't even have to be a citizen to vote in them
right.
because that's not even like there's no rules against that, which is just absolutely incredible. Now here, like the more I learn about how other countries do it, the more I'm just like enthralled with like, wow, why are Canadians not doing this? It's just unbelievable. So Javier Milei took a big step last year, and he made it mandatory that before every election, every party has to have a primary election to decide who's going to run. So you don't have incumbents like Doug Ford running over and over again, right? That
Yeah.
kind of thing. So it gives a party a chance to switch who's in the party. And we saw in Texas there was a number of them that got flipped just recently in the primaries. Eye Patch McCain, Dan Crenshaw, he's gone. So he got replaced by someone who's actually MAGA. And we saw Tony Gonzalez in District 23 get the boot because Brandon Herrera, the YouTuber, beat him. And that's amazing. I'm excited for that because we took some rhino guy who votes for gun control and higher taxes and stuff. And we're getting a guy who's literally for the people and for right-leaning things, more freedoms for the Second Amendment, more leaning on the First Amendment, all that stuff. It's amazing. But one thing I didn't know that they do that I'm just like, wow, smarter minds came up with better things, and why that we don't practice this in other places. If a primary is close, like if one person doesn't get more than 50% of the vote, then they go into a runoff election with the leading pack. So you'll have like a whole group of people, like in the case where they're trying to do this longest ballot thing, and if nobody gets over 50% of the vote, then they'll take the two leaders up, and then they go into a runoff.
It's a runoff, or it's a ranked ballot almost. I mean, yeah, there's lots of things we can do. I mean, we can get complicated in how we vote, but there is no perfect. I've watched a documentary on that, like a really good documentary on all other kinds of voting systems that have been proposed: ranked ballots, popularity ballots. Popularity is interesting, right? It's similar to ranked, but they all have flaws. I mean, ranked ballots, we know rank. Generally speaking, in a ranked ballot, appealing to, not trying to be popular and just appealing to the middle ground usually wins, right? We've had too many elections here with ranked ballots, like in leadership races, where a third place candidate wins. It's the Survivor philosophy, right? Everybody learned it when you watch that Survivor series. Like the super strong guys almost never win because they're perceived as threats. So ranked ballots ends up doing the same thing. What I'm with you. I definitely, in our system, simple change would be primaries, right? You gotta really earn your name on the ballot to start with. I think that's a great one, but I don't know why people are against term limits. I like. I mean, to me, the idea of a politician who's done 5 terms and people go, well, if he's popular and people keep voting for him, I'm like, no, I like, no, because when you're that popular, at some point you become institutionalized and literally hard to replace. And so it's not, whatever, Elizabeth Warren or Nancy Pelosi, they're not there 5 times in a row because they're popular. They're 5 times in a row because they start to really learn how the machine works. They're almost cheating. They're doing things they're impossible to displace. And so I like the concept of term limits. It doesn't have to be 2, maybe it's 3, but I don't.
You want an amateur government is what you want. You don't want a government of professional politicians. Like that's
exactly.
a noble.
I mean, I don't want them
thought. I like
completely amateurs, but I don't want them completely professional. I mean, you can be pretty good after 2 terms, 3 terms, but yeah, like 5 or 6. I mean, we've had some of those 5 or 6 term people, right? What's her name? You guys got one in BC, Heidi Fry or whatever. There was Ralph Goodale in Manitoba or Saskatchewan. Like, there's people like that have been running. Well, Pierre is coming down. Like we're talking. Like, yeah.
It's his only job. It's the only job he's ever had. So, but yeah, you nail it there. You nail it there. But then there's also, and this is maybe something that people who don't, if they're not watching it close enough, they don't see it, but there's this, if they don't get elected and they don't get to stay as career politicians, they still stay as career Ottawa. It's the swamp. It's this grossness. They're this revolving door between being an elected official and being in part of the bureaucracy, or even being part of in the media industrial complex, like people who are CBC or Toronto.
Didn't we do that last week? Last week, maybe it was last week or 2 weeks ago, like all those senior bureaucrat announcements that like all the deputy. Yeah, we did it, right? Remember the fentanyl czar got promoted to whatever. Oh yeah, no, that's a whole class in and of itself. The deputy ministers, the senior bureaucrats, they probably look at the politicians and go, oh, screw that. The really smart ones, if you're a deputy minister, you can't be fired because you're a government employee. You have your pension. You don't have to fight and be popular. You don't have to, you just get the good rolling jobs every 2-3 years. Like, what? Yeah, sweet gig.
And jobs that you're never qualified for.
No, never. Yeah, no.
It's just unbelievable. But we can talk about this all night. We got some other topics to get into. One that I definitely want to talk about is, well, what's going on in the Middle East, world politics, but this is a big one. So Straits of Hormuz is a tiny little piece of real estate, but it is a narrow channel that goes between Saudi Arabia and Iran. And that's where it just happens to be where a third of the world's oil and energy goes through. They have to go through that. And because of, the Epic Fury, Operation Epic Fury, what's left of the Iranian IRGC, like there's nothing left. They're gone. They're annihilated. But they have people that are threatening and saying that they're gonna attack ships that go through. Now Donald Trump has said this is the ultimate test. If they're gonna continue to be with NATO needs to do their job and come to the aid of the United States in this one.
Yep.
And they're all refusing.
Yeah, we're not sending anything. I can't remember. We had some sort of weird bullshit excuse. And by the way, that is sort of like, in the grand scheme of things, the Americans have aircraft carriers and stuff like that. But we used to be good at minesweeping, right? We could have sent a boat there whose sole purpose would be to go up and down the strait with the big nets and catch all the mines. And do some mine sweeping. Like, we could do that's a cool role, right? That we could have done. We're not doing nothing. That's persistent.
Personally, I don't think the mines thing makes any sense, because essentially if the Iranians put mines in the water, it would screw over their own boats that want to go through it too, right? And then like you're screwing everybody over. You're not just screwing the people you don't like over.
Yeah, but the mines are getting smarter and smarter, right? I mean, you're thinking for sure if you laid those old like the mines you see in the movies with the probes that stick out, the contact mines, those would screw everybody. but they could also do sort of underwater mines that at the right time you release them and they go up. There's also, mines are nasty little buggers. I mean, it's a cheap technology, right? It's pretty telling that 475 pounds of explosive in a steel ball can sink a million barrels of oil. It's a problem. But the bigger threat is the fact that the Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide. So at that point, and the boat's got to kind of go right down the middle. You're 10 miles from shore, man. That's lobbing distance for lots of things. You can literally throw missiles at it and howitzers and almost whatever. Plus, they can attack with those little boats. That's the other problem that's happening over there, right? You're seeing what the Americans are destroying. It's not big naval cruisers. The problem now is things that look like fishing vessels. But the Saudis had a great idea. Guess what the Saudis had built and thought of? The Saudis have a pipeline that goes across. The Saudis don't interrupt a lot of their oil. Anyways, the strait is an interesting thing. You're right. It's about a third of the world's oil that gets shipped is going through there, and the Americans are paying. That's a deal breaker for the Americans. The Americans don't like paying a high price for gasoline, and right now their gasoline is shooting up.
But here's the thing. So America is a net exporter of energy now, as because of Trump, thanks to him, opening up, things like the EPA and all kinds of other regulation that's been stifling for years. And now the US they're making deals with, Japan, undermined the Canadians on this one, a $56 billion deal with Japan to supply them with energy. This just dropped the other day. And yes, it's we're talking about world markets. So obviously, if that happens, a third of the oil in the world is halted, then the price of oil will go up in the United States. I think what Donald Trump is doing here is, I think this is a real test to see, because America has spent astronomical amounts of money on NATO protecting other countries' borders. And it was Scott Besson that said it just recently on a podcast. He said, what if you went to Spain and you asked them to sacrifice 5% of their GDP to protect the border between Mexico and the United States? What do you think that they would say?
We talked about this last week. I mean, we benefit all the time when a Canadian cargo ship goes from Japan, picks up cars and crosses the Pacific Ocean. People go, okay, well, that's a peaceful ocean. Sure, it's peaceful, but that's because the Americans are patrolling the crap out of it. Absolutely. The Americans are all over the world patrolling the oceans, keeping them safe. And they're I was going to say they're not quite flexing, but this is an example where the Americans, well, there's a couple of things going on. I mean, I do think in hindsight now that Donald thought this would be a little bit faster. It's dragging on a little bit longer than he thought, right? There's more, even you and I thought.
We're 2.5 weeks in. It's not that long.
It's longer than I even thought, because I mean, I'm surprised that the Iranians still have a will to fight, that some guys have a will to fight. I'm honestly surprised because they got, they got the crap kicked out of them. So it's going on a little bit longer. And then Donald's capitalizing on this. I mean, he's fighting it, but at the same time, he's using it as a great example of like, we do the dirty work and nobody helps us. And I think that's valid. I mean, he's using it as a bit of an excuse to save face, I think. But he's got a valid point, right? I mean, the fact that we're not going there, I'd be furious if I was Donald. The fact, like I said, we don't, even Canada doesn't offer that much, but we usually have 1 or 2 boats in that part of the world ready to at least start escorting and doing things, right? Like that's, plus, wouldn't it be fun? I think our guys would love that. Like, just send our guys over there and spend some ammunition. Like, it's, like.
I think ultimately, though, I think this was really a test, and Donald Trump really put this out there with his press conference yesterday when he said this. He basically straight up says, like, this was a test and they failed.
With trillions over the years, many trillions of dollars. It's one of the reasons we have deficits and we help other countries. And when they don't help us, I mean, it's certainly something that we should think about. I don't need Congress for that decision. As you probably know, I can make that decision myself. I'd work with some very smart people. And I'd always deal with Congress anyway, but I don't need Congress for that decision. But, when you say rethink, I have nothing currently in mind, but I will say that I'm not exactly thrilled when we help them with Ukraine. Look, Ukraine would have been over in one day if we didn't help. Frankly, Ukraine would have been over in the first day. They had the best equipment in the world. It was our equipment given by Sleepy Joe Biden. No charge. No charge.
No charge, of course. But here's an interesting point, and you really have to hear this. This is from warmonger Michael Bolton, but he had a very interesting thing to say here about whose war is whose war.
But I will say, I think the Europeans make a mistake by responding to that kind of juvenile behavior with juvenile behavior of their own. A number of European leaders, including Kaja Kallas, the European Union's chief foreign policy official, have said expressly, Iran is not our war. That's a very dangerous way to put it, because it invites Donald Trump. It almost teases him to come back and say, well, okay, Iran is not your war. Ukraine is not our war. It's very dangerous to approach Trump in the same way he behaves.
So, yeah, I mean, that gives him a perfect opportunity to just say, yeah, forget it. You don't want to play ball? Well, I'm not going to play ball either.
No, I mean, at the end of the day, they got spin agents on both sides, and you can spin anything anyway. I agree. It is a good test, but I don't think it was the purpose, right? Donald didn't attack Iran to see how his allies would react. That was no. But it does turn out. It is a good test. It does show who's really on your team. I mean, that's valid. That's a good way to find out. If you want to find out who's on your team, you just you do something like this, and you'll quickly find out who's on your team.
Find out.
Yeah, but I mean, some of the recent reactions, like he's lifting the embargo on the Russians right now, which isn't, like he's even letting Russian oil try to flood back into the market. So I think I think they're a little bit shocked at the resilience of the Iranians and their willingness to keep fighting on. But I hope it does end pretty soon, because I get frustrated by the fact that it is a world commodity, but and I get that price, oil is priced as a world commodity, but here in Alberta, we make 5 million barrels a day. We only consume 400,000 locally, and the price of our gasoline shot up. I mean, I paid $1.52 yesterday, and I was like, that pisses me off, because it just shows that our capitalism is capitalism. Our own guys, they're not going to be nice. They're not going to say, oh, we'll give you guys a break in Alberta just because you happen to live here. Americans are going to do the same thing. They're self-sufficient, but they're quite willing to sell oil to anybody who wants it when it's $100 a barrel. $98.60 today. That's crazy. That
is really crazy. Wow.
It's driving yeah.
Well, I mean, parts of the Lower Mainland, I think, went up to $2 a liter.
Yeah, there was an article. They interviewed a Uber driver in Vancouver, 203 over his shoulder. That's some serious coin for filling your car. But yeah,
I don't know how to segue into the next part, so I'm just going to abruptly get into it. But
where are you segueing? Because there's a lot of segues that come off the rising price of oil and the inflation it causes.
You know what? That is a great way to look at it, and a great way to put it, because of that, a lot of people are inflation is actually way worse in Canada. Actually, I got some numbers now just to put on the screens, just so people get an idea. Because I raised the question, who is worse, Justin Trudeau or Mark Carney? And both of us, people watching, we've absolutely done with Justin Trudeau. Never saying longing for the days of Justin Trudeau, but Carney's worse by every single measure.
Yes,
by every single measure. You just
even the Bank of Canada today. I was listening to the Bank of Canada. Actually, I almost want to go back to the oil story, and maybe we'll go back for in a minute. But I was listening to the Bank of Canada today. So the Bank of Canada kept the interest rate at 2.25, and then even though inflation was up earlier in the week at 1.8%, and you listen to Tiff Macklin, and Tiff keeps saying like, "Oh, inflation is back on its way up," and he keeps blaming inflation on the price of oil and stuff like that. And I'm watching Tiff on the screen, and I want to throw the brick at the screen because I'm like,
Oh,
nope.
yeah.
You're showing it there. Inflation is out of control because Carney keeps printing money, and because Carney and you keep printing money, Tiff, and Carney keeps spending. There's been zero attempt to. God, remember, I mean, I missed the days of Trudeau in 2015 saying I'll run three little deficits of $5 billion and then I'll have it back to normal. Carney's running into that $70-80 billion deficit. Like, so I was getting mad, and they're using the excuse of Iran. We should be prepared for all of that, man. Like we should, like, you know, we're just, yeah. I want to, and I just want to go back to one quick one on the oil thing, because I get mad when people are not being or nobody questions them. Our media is doing a garbage job. There was a guy being asked on the news in what's Canada doing to help the global glut in oil right now, and and you know what they said? They said, "Oh, we're going to release like our strategic reserves," and nobody questioned the guy on the TV. Nobody even blinked an eye. Everybody's like, "Oh, that sounds good." We have no strategic reserves in this country. I think we talked about this again last week, or I talked about this with someone. Like, our media is garbage, like garbage. And like, that's such an easy one. Like, it was Rosemary Barton asking the guy like, "Oh, so explain that," and the guy's like making up all these excuses. We have no strategic reserves. Like, where are they? Yeah,
There's no storage facility. There's no underground bunker or underground.
No, he basically said we'll accelerate how quickly we get it out of the ground. It's like, you don't think we're doing that at full speed right now? That's kind of like saying, "Oh yeah, we have gold reserves." Sure, we have gold reserves. They're in the ground.
They're in the ground, still in the ore. Yeah, and not only that, it's been the Liberals for the past 12 years that have been kneecapping everyone along the way that's trying to get the stuff out of the ground.
Yeah.
We're just gonna turn the tap on. What? Yeah. You just open it up and it flows out? Yeah. Tell me you don't know how the world works, Mark Carney.
Yeah. There's no anyways, I guess that's the interest rate story, right? So sorry, folks, interest rate stays at, well, no, then
they're staying really, really low, which means that they're going to just keep inflating, and inflation is going to get worse.
Macklin basically says if it gets worse, I'll bring them back up to fight inflation. I'm like, you need to do it now, man. Like, not. Oh God.
It takes 12 to 18 months to make any effect on the economy.
Lord help us. That's all I could say. Lord help us.
Well, some people have got the clue. And what they've done is they decided, you know what I'm not going to do is foot the bill for this. I mean, I'm part of that. I know Alberta is trying to do it as an entire province, but a lot of people are saying, forget it. I'm getting out of here. And because of that, we've actually had more decline in the population in Canada, despite every effort that they have been throwing at making sure that Canada becomes the new India, or the new whatever third world that they want to bring millions and millions of people from. Canada's population is on the decline. It's less people. Canada's population declined by 504 people in the fourth quarter of 2025. So that's just in 3 months.
I'll take it. I'll gladly take it, right? It's 3 quarters in a row of going down, which is the first time that in a year over year. So 2025 ended up lower. Yeah, somebody graphed it. I don't know who did that, but that's first year over year decline in the history of the country. I validated that. I did my own graph, and most of it is from not renewing work visas. Study visas. That's the bulk of it, right? So they're not renewing visas, which is fine. So people are leaving voluntarily, which is good. And then the other consequence of this is some other things are coming back to normal. So it's having an impact on the housing market. Unfortunately, for some people who were counting on big capital Your house is worth a little bit less, but for those what's more important? The boomer who's wanting to cash out at retirement at the end of their life, or the young family? For the short term, I'm happy that the young families can afford to get into some housing, because housing is correcting itself. We saw that in the employment market, there's a major correction happening there too. Finally, like, there's not a lot of not the unemployment is going down, but the employment is going up, which is good. So unemployment goes down. One's the opposite of the other, but employment's more important, right? Because employment just shows that if you're creating jobs and people are working, that's good. But you can do both and still have a high unemployment. And I don't want to get into the details on this show, but the metrics are fixing themselves. We are better as a country at a lower population. It's proof in the pudding. We went out of control on immigration, and it caused nothing but problems, like way too many problems. I mean, you can't let in 2 million people in 3 years. You can't do that.
The problem, though, Marty, is we're losing the wrong people. That's the issue. So there's two things. There's a lot of people. Yeah, there's a bunch of people that just didn't make it, and they're like, I'm out of here. But a lot of the people that are, taken off are people who have, well, for one, are Canadian citizens. They're entrepreneurs. They get wealthy enough that they get the heck out of here. And then the other one is, have you heard of the leaky bucket report?
No, but I wanted to go back to what you said. I 100% agree. I mean, we are losing some good people, but it's statistically, in the grand scheme of things right now, it's dwarfed by the fact that we're just luckily, it's a whole bunch of visas are going back. Of that 100,000 people, like 10,000 were good people who left forever, but 90,000 were visa workers. So the
leaky bucket report is from the Institute for Canadian Citizenship, and it's an advocacy group for people who become citizens and what have you. They do this leaky bucket report. It's the idea that you're trying to fill up a bucket, but it's leaking out at the same time, right? And we're talking about people who have all the skills that are desired, right? So people that have PhDs and speak English, and maybe not just PhDs, but skills of some sort of professional or whatever. Those people are added to the bucket, and then every year there's a certain amount of them that say, forget it, I'm not sticking around for whatever reason. And it's just been going up year after year, more and more and more. What does it say here? Specific occupations, healthcare workers and scientists have 36% higher 5-year departure rate than the average. Like it's crazy. Like, skilled people are not sticking around.
My own profession is the Association of Professional Engineers. So, and we lost 6,000 members last year. So the population of Alberta is going up, but we lost 6,000 engineers. 6,000. So as a rate, it's negative. Like we're not even increasing the number of engineers. It's going down a lot as a percentage of the population. And where are they going? I can testify to the fact that I have at least 10 or 15 friends that are down in the US. 10 in the US, 5 in Australia. They've all gone. They're like Texas. I mean, yeah, I should be there, but it's too hot for me. I've said that over and over. It's too hot for me. Texas is too hot. But we're losing. There's a real brain drain's real. Brain drain is. I wish I had all the time in the world to keep analyzing a whole bunch of things and show you all that, right? I keep trying to do that online. I spend a good portion of my days correlating all of that and showing it to people. I wish I had more time. And what's really frustrating is that our government knows all of this and will never admit it. Like the brain drain's real. Higher taxes cost us, right? It's not theory. It's not even theory. Like it's so proven, right? Like if you tax too high, the 1% just go hasta la vista, baby. We're out of here. And there, because big capital is mobile, they won't invest. I mean, people. It's an argument I keep hearing all the time on the side of the road when I'm collecting signatures. Oh, an independent Alberta will scare away investors. Are you kidding me? We can't scare any more investors away than the Liberals have for the last 10 years. And I can demonstrate that. Same thing. I can go look at, Tiff Macklin said it today. We've had 6 quarters, 6 out of the last 8 quarters, we've had GDP decrease.
Yeah.
Like, and what is that? That's because capital's fleeing and we're non-productive. And you spoke about jobs. Did you see the job report that came out? Same thing. The job report that came out last week. Finally, we saw the whole year-over-year report. We lost jobs. Like, the people say, "Oh no, we created jobs." We created 100,000 government jobs, man.
Yeah, those aren't jobs.
Those aren't jobs. Like, that's I'm sure good for you if you work for the government, but I hate to say it to you, you're a non-productive member of society that will hopefully get replaced by AI in the short term. That's how I feel about government workers right now. I actually,
well, I mean, you really have to look at it this way, because like it's an expense. It's an expense when the government creates a new service that the government does, and they have to employ a person. I always liken it to, like, if your home budget's not doing well, why not? Here's what we'll do, honey. We'll just get I'll hire a gardener, and we'll get a construction team to come in and make a pool in the backyard. And then you just like count that as like growth. Like, it's an expense.
yeah. Well, and our government says, here, I'll give you a loan, and then you take that loan, and then you start a business, but the things you need to buy are things that you get from the government. So here's a loan to start a daycare business, and then your daycare workers will be paid as by use the money to hire government employees that'll become your daycare workers. You know what I mean? Like, it's an endless, it's a loop that collapses on itself in no time. And then within a year, you have to hire 3 other people and try and get tax. Anyways, no, it's all coming to bear on us right now in terms of inflation. We shouldn't be shocked at inflation. It ain't Tiff. I wonder if Tiff Macklin even knows. I'm sure he knows, but he just can't come out and say it. Like, Tiff knows that the answer to our inflation is we have to stop printing money, we have to shrink the government, and we have to fire 150,000 workers.
Like, they're in such a catch-22 though. I mean, we're still at the peak of a financial bubble that's propped up by cheap money. Yeah. And the only cure to that is to let the bubble burst. But what happens when the bubble bursts in Canada, when the real estate value drops by like considerable amounts? Most people are over leveraged and they can't afford the mortgages that they have, and they're expecting that just owning a property is retirement. Yeah. It's a pipe dream that never should have been considered a reality, but people did, and they invested everything that they've got in it. What is it? Over 40% of the economy is wrapped up in real estate, like residential real estate. That's just absolutely nuts.
But then on the backside, if you look at institutional debt, it's like $3.2 trillion. So even it's actually surprising how many people, even late in life, don't own their homes, right? So they got money in a home that they think they got this big basket of this big asset that's worth something. But I'm like, I'm sorry, folks, if you still have a mortgage on your house, you don't own your house outright. You own a chunk of it, but you still owe the bank a whole ton. It's crazy how many people get into long-term loans, reverse mortgages, all sorts of things to we're one of the worst nations on earth when it comes to this. We've made credit so easy, and then people just abuse it, and we are in huge debt. Like, it's I tweet about that all the time. I mean, the consumer debt is like 140% of income in this country, or something like that. So that means that even if you tore up your credit card right now, you just cut up your credit card in Canada, most people would need the next 19 months of pure income just to pay off their credit card. Like, it's undoable. It's undoable for some people. I mean, I don't even know, like, I wish I had a credit card statement, because I'm pretty good. I usually pay my credit card statement, but I always find it funny when you get, like, let's say you got a $200 balance, and there's the credit card's supposed to tell you how long your debt will take to repay if you pay the minimum. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah.
And it's the big numbers. Like, it'll say to me, like, if you only pay the minimum $10, you'll have this debt will take you 22 years to pay off. I wonder who has the largest number in this country. Like, there's some guy somewhere, someplace, who gets his credit card statement, and then the bottom corner is like, at this rate, you're going to pay off your credit card in 3,175 years or something. I guarantee somebody's got a big number like that. Like,
Ooh,
and
I hate having debt. So like I use my credit card all the time, but the day I get that statement, I go pay it off.
paid
And
off.
I pay it right off. I only spend money that I have, but I use the credit card to build the credit
Yeah.
just so you have it when you need it, because you're screwed without credit. But if you're maxed out, I mean, then it's like having no credit at all, or it's worse because you just don't have money. But
Well,
what
I
are you
mean,
gonna do?
I see people doing that all the time. Like, not all the time. It's crazy when you witness somebody in front of you swipe their credit card and it's decline, and then they'll take another one out. Or I've seen people use 2 credit cards to make one purchase. Like, can I put $100 on this card and 200 on that buck because this one I just finished paying it off? Like, some people are living like that. Some of them is because they're careless. Some of them is because of necessity. We have done that to people in this country. I mean, it is expensive. Like, life's not easy for a lot of people here anymore.
No, it's not. It's not.
Yeah.
I know I'll be living like that for a little bit when I move to the US, because I don't have any credit built there.
Holy
So
smokes, are we at 59 minutes, Clyde? I'm looking at the little clock in the corner. I got a ton of
we are, but
stories to
we
talk
did a
about.
big long
Yeah.
intro, and that's why
Okay.
we're actually like 10 minutes ahead. But yeah, no, we did a big long intro, but I wanted to get to the one story that you pointed out before we went live, and that's just the quality of truck drivers that we now have in Canada. It's amazing. You have your own theory on this, and we'll get into that, but I just got to share this clip. I actually have a couple of clips because this has become such a commonplace thing. I mean, what do I say? Let's just look at what happened here. Here's the first clip.
Colonialist imperialist. Holy shit! Holy shit!
Like,
So YouTube, by the way, no one was hurt in this.
No one was hurt.
The property was damaged, but that's about it. But that, like, how?
Like, how does a truck that would have gotten there 2 minutes earlier, was perfectly fine, turned off and stopped on an uncontrolled intersection? Okay, this is not, he didn't stop because the gate went down. Like, of all, like, you know what I mean? Like, he could have stopped further or ahead or before or whatever. There's like, that's just, I can't wait to hear the investigation into this one. But that to me looked intentional. That guy, like, is there an insurance scam going on with freaking trucks?
Well, that's the question, right? You brought that up earlier, and now that you mention it, yeah, I mean, I don't know, but like, how else would you view this? Have a look at this one. So this is another incident that was just recent. This guy says, you have to be shitting me. March 17th in Tabor, Alberta, again. Why didn't that new Canadian back up or move forward? This is real-time Somali trucking insurance scam, isn't it? And have a look at this clip.
See, that's negligence.
It's already going down.
That's negligence. Like, that's complete negligence. Like, what's going on there? I mean, well, that's actually, okay, that one's stupidity. I mean, if you're stopping and they're going to hit the box, that's okay, but they're going to hit the cab here. Holy smokes, get the hell out. Don't stay there, buddy. Like, holy smokes. Or is he making sure that the train is, yeah.
Just idiotic. And like,
Anyway.
there's no the train engineer, he's not stopping the thing, right? That's not happening. There's so much weight behind the thing. It's already moving at a decent clip.
But I mean, it's a phenomenon. I know it's a phenomenon in your part of the world on the Coquihalla Highway. It is a phenomenon here in Alberta. People are starting to notice that there's a trend here. Like, we never had that many trucks crashing, and it's not like there's more trucks than there used to be. There's trucks being driven by poor drivers or by companies that really don't give a shit and aren't doing the maintenance of their trucks. But not a week goes by where somebody isn't posting a picture of a truck on some major highway somewhere that's schmucked. And when you see a truck that's schmucked and you look, there's a pattern. There's a certain kind of driver that's driving that truck, and people are getting fed up. And that doesn't bode well here in Alberta, because we had one of those drivers killed 18 people. 18 hockey players in Humboldt about 5 years ago. And we had another incident earlier this year where 3 hockey players got killed by a truck. The guy who killed the kids in Humboldt, he's being extradited back to his country. He served time in jail. I don't even think he served long enough, and now he's being extradited. And people are saying, well, he paid his dues to society. He served time in jail. Bullshit. He killed 18 people out of the country. Like the bleeding hearts in this country that I keep encountering. You know,
I don't get it. I don't understand
I don't either.
it. I'll
don't
never
either.
understand that.
Yeah.
Like there's a debt to pay to society when you pull a move. Like this is why we have laws like you know, manslaughter. Yeah, it wasn't your intention. It wasn't your intention to harm somebody, but it was your neglect that caused it. And that's why there's a difference in between, like, you know, murder and manslaughter. We've actually thought this out.
That's a great segue for, I know we're running out of time. Maybe we want to save it for the next segment. I mean, we got, I was going to talk about Doug Ford. Doug Ford had two great speeches on the podium today, one around gun crime. Yeah, let's save it for the next segment.
Yeah, we'll save it for the people who watch this live. If you're watching this after the fact and you're missing out on that, man, you should have caught the show live. This is just how it's done. You could become a member and check out the whole thing in its entirety. Or if you're watching this live, hey, let's move on to the next segment. For everybody else, Marty, where can people find you?
Marty Up North on X and Marty Up North on YouTube, but I'm not very active on YouTube these days. But come find me on X, folks.